We are live now. Good
Okay.
evening, everyone. This is Raj from the Cyberblog India team. I hope all of you are doing good. So today we have with us Miss Ashwini Takalkar. She is currently working as APP and AGP, Bombay High Court, and she has over around 15 years of experience in different types of laws. And our today's topic of discussion is digital justice system. Given the COVID-19 situation, this becomes highly relevant. So, ma'am, first of all, thank you so much for accepting our invite uh, and
Thank
giving
you
your
for having
valuable.
me.
Yeah. So now that our audience is not only limited to legal professionals or law students, we also have people who have like non-legal background. So my first question about this particular topic is like, how will you explain digital justice system to a layman or let's say non-legal professional?
Okay. Justice system would mean uh, dispensation of justice by use of technology. टेक्नोलॉजी के माध्यम से न्याय प्राप्त करना. जैसे हम टेक्नोलॉजी हर एक फील्ड में आजकल यूज करते हैं, अपने घर में यूज करते हैं, ऑफिस में यूज करते हैं, अपने कंप्यूटर्स, प्रिंटर्स, घर में वॉशिंग मशीन्स, ओवन्स, माइक्रोवेव्स, ये सब
Yeah.
चीजें रहती है, रेफ्रिजरेटर. वी यूज ऑल दीज गैजेट्स ऑल द टाइम. सो व्हाई
Oh,
नॉट यूज टेक्नोलॉजी इन द जस्टिस डिलीवरी सिस्टम? क्योंकि अपनी
oh,
जिंदगी में तो हम उसके बेनिफिट्स ले ही रहे हैं, तो फिर
yeah.
जुडिशरी में उसको इनकॉर्पोरेट करके उसके बेनिफिट्स क्यों ना लिए जाए?
Okay. All right. Just one thing for all of our viewers. अगर आप लोगों के कोई questions है, so you can put your questions or queries in the comments. They are visible to us. Or at the end of the session, we will take up the questions. Now, ma'am, it is often said that Indian judiciary has been a bit slow in adapting to technology or technology-based solutions. But I'm sure कि जो पिछले 4 या 5 साल में developments हुए हैं, that's a good step. So क्या आप कुछ developments हम लोग के साथ share कर सकती है, like how technology is being used?
Yes, now since because of this COVID-19 pandemic, the judiciary was forced to go um, on video conferencing hearings, conducting hearings through video conferencing. But however, it is not that the judiciary is not aware about this fact, because since 1999, the process of computerization in the judicial system was being adopted, and in the year 2005, the E Committee of the Supreme Court of India had submitted for incorporation of the information and communication technology in the judicial system. सो ये कोई नई बात नहीं है हमारे लिए. 1999 से लेकर 2005 तक उन्होंने ई प्रोजेक्ट बना के दिया है, जिसके तहत हम ई कोर्ट सर्विसेज वेबसाइट पे जाके अपना केस स्टेटस देख सकते हैं, रोजनामा दे सकते हैं, ऑर्डर्स चेक कर सकते हैं. सो इंटीग्रेटेड national data grid has been put into place. कि throughout the India, all district courts data have been collected and people can view them by visiting this e-courts website.
Before moving on to the next question, जो पूरा justice system होता है उसमें different stakeholders होते हैं, like
Hmm.
litigants, advocates, prosecution, in the state, in the judiciary. So
Correct.
can you please highlight some of the advantages for each of these stakeholders कि किसको क्या फायदा होता है and how are like they are going to benefit from a full-fledged digital justice system?
Yes, definitely. Now, I will first start with the litigant because he is the most important factor of the judiciary in justice delivery system, because it is he who brings the matter to the courts. So, for him, there are various benefits. Like, for example, he can avail of the justice system from the comfort of his house or from the comfort of his office or from a lawyer's office. He need not travel all throughout to attend a court date. He need not travel to for several dates. He at his own space he can avail of those services from his home, or while he is on foreign trip. He need not miss his date. He can still connect to the court. So this is the biggest benefit for him. Another benefit is cost saving. It will definitely save a lot of time, money, and energy of the litigant. So it is in all beneficial for the litigant. Secondly, the benefits for the advocates also. The advocates can also save their time, money. They also need not travel. Now, to give an example, now since Supreme Court is now hearing cases, only urgent matters though, through video conferencing. So uh, the number was proceeding ahead, and the case of one of the advocate was about to reach. However, he had yet not reached his office to connect through video conferencing. So what happened is he sat in his car, and from there he has attended that video conferencing hearing. And the Supreme Court asked him, "Why are you sitting in your car?" And he replied to that,
yeah,
that since my number was reaching and I could not reach my office, I am
yeah,
operating through my car. So he managed to attend his case when the case was called out. So this
yeah,
is the convenience. And then
yeah.
when you have time at your disposal, you can use that for other cases or other work that you can do.
Yeah.
So this is the
So
benefits for
also,
the advocates. For judiciary, of course, there is a lot of pendency. If you see
yeah,
the pendency in the Indian judiciary, it is a huge problem, and we are trying to tackle this. The judiciary is trying to tackle this. However, it has been difficult over the years. But if we shift certain matters, such as consumer matters, matters handled by tribunals, or
yeah,
uh, traffic e-challans or drunken drive cases,
yeah,
small matters, if we shift on a trial basis to
mhm,
online courts, then the burden of the judiciary will be reduced and the judiciary can concentrate on the other matters which are of more importance.
yeah. Okay, so ma'am, like this is how all the stakeholders can benefit. But for
Yes.
this system to come into place, like
Mm.
you told कि ये चीजें हो रही हैं and ये और भी बहुत सारी possibilities होंगी. But for this
Mhm.
full-fledged system to come into place, there will be definitely some constraints from the advocate
Yes,
side, from
yes.
the client side. So can you please elaborate on those constraints?
Yes, definitely. If you want to bring a full-fledged digital system in place, you have to have a huge amount of funds that will be required. Huge amount of infrastructure, computerization, LAN, WAN, internet, broadband, which should be proper and of good quality. Then legal computer literacy should be enhanced. Training programs should be given to the staff, to the judges, to the advocates, and to the litigants. So it requires a lot of work. It is not that you have said it and we all are talking about it and it will be done in a day or two or within a week or for that matter within a few months. No, it is a long process. It will take time. And a gradual change from the existing judicial system to a digitalized judicial system is required. We cannot jump that,
Okay.
okay, now we know how the technology works, so just start implementing it all throughout. That
Yeah.
cannot be done because we don't know what will be the results. So,
Yes.
a gradual shift, initially a few matters, say for consumer court or traffic matters such as e-challan or drunken drive cases, small matters tried by tribunals, that can be transferred on online courts on trial basis.
Okay. So what you are suggesting is essentially instead of looking to overhaul the entire system, we should go step by step. Take one
Yes,
particular type of cases, go for a trial, or
right.
let's say let's take any particular legal process and digitalize it, and then look for the
Yes,
factors that how you can improve it.
yes. Observe that thing, that system for 2 to 3 years, and then
Yeah.
check out the loopholes, the disadvantages, the advantages, and then improve on the system and then implement it in some other area with the improved version of that system. So it will give you better
Yeah.
results.
Okay. Now, I think you might be familiar with this number. There are around 1.3 million lawyers in India. Now, there has been
Yes.
some dispute about the exact number, but let's say there are 1.3 million lawyers. Now,
Okay.
most of these lawyers would fall under the age group of either 30 plus or 40 plus.
Right.
And not just a couple of researchers, but many researchers have documented over the years about how age factor of an individual affects adoption of technology.
Right.
So, do you think
Yes.
this would
Age
be a
factor. Yes, definitely. Age factor does affect the adaptation of technology. But if you see the latest data given by the Information and Mobile Association of India, according
yeah,
to them, almost 35% of the population from the age group of 30 to 50 are using internet. So
okay.
it is a pretty decent number to begin with.
Okay. Uh,
35% is not a small number from 30 to 50 age group.
okay.
And when the necessity comes, we adopt change, right? We as advocates, we are prone to change. We are open to change. Whenever there is a new statute that comes into place, we study it, we implement it in our cases. Whenever there are new amendments, we go through them and we implement them. For that matter, even when there is a change in the court, we see what the requirements of the judge is, what he expects us to argue before him.
Yeah.
So as lawyers, we are always open to change and we adapt to change and also implement it. So that
Yeah.
is the way to go about it.
I was listening to one of the webinars by Honorable Justice Chandrachud yesterday, and he said something like that virtual courts cannot entirely replace existing court system, right? So there might be
Yes,
some things जिनके लिए आपको कोर्ट में होना जरूरी है. So can you please
yes,
elaborate
yes.
ऐसी कौन सी चीजें हैं जिनके लिए कोर्ट में होना जरूरी आपको होना ही पड़ेगा?
Yeah, like I said, we cannot directly change from the existing system to a digital system. There
Yeah.
has to be a gradual change. Initially, small matters on trial basis can go online completely, from filing to recording your replies, from evidence. All those things can be done. However, certain matters like 376
Yeah.
IPC, that is the rape cases, offenses against women, offenses against children, such matters, they are sensitive matters. And for
Yeah.
that, the judge requires to see the demeanor of the witness, how the witness reacts when the question is put to him, or
Yeah.
the way in which he answers, the way he perceives the question. These are all minor, small things which a judge has to perceive.
Okay.
And even for that matter, when the defense lawyer is cross examining such witness,
Yeah.
the live cross examination, the physical cross examination cannot 100% be replaced by an examination which is done through video conferencing. There will be a difference, it cannot be exactly the same. So the right of confrontation, which is guaranteed by our constitution to the accused, that is, no one shall be condemned, no person shall be uh, without due process of law. Life and liberty of a person shall not be taken away without following due process of law. So in that due process of law, article 21, the right of confrontation is also included, which is the right to cross examine a witness. So that can be effectively done while the person is in the physical presence, though video conferencing also you can do it effectively, but it will take time. We have to first take the first step. We at least have to make an attempt first, try out, see what is the response, whether there is any difference in the way when we cross examining through VC and when we cross examining physically.
Okay, now that we are talking about video conferencing, there have been many like many case petitions regarding live streaming of court proceedings. For
Yes,
example,
yes,
for
there is this.
yeah. So, do you think live streaming of all such court proceedings, or in some cases, there are chances of violation of privacy of litigants?
No, Supreme Court in Swapnil Tripaঠি's case
Yeah.
have said that live streaming of Supreme Court cases will be permitted. Now,
Okay.
since time immemorial, we are having this system of open justice system. अगर आप पुराने राजा महाराजाओं के जमाने में भी देखोगे, तो जो न्याय दान होता था वो सबके सामने होता था. लोगों को
Okay.
पता होना चाहिए कि अगर आपने किसी कायदे का उल्लंघन किया है तो क्या सजा हो सकती है, उसके क्या परिणाम हो सकते हैं. So since time immemorial, India is following this system of open justice system. So no right of privacy will be infringed. Now, for that matter, certain matters which are conducted in camera, even in regular trials, wherein only the concerned victim, accused, and their advocates are present. So, for such sensitive matters, that procedure will still be followed and it will not be streamed. So, it is
Okay.
perfectly within the discretion of the court which matters should be live streamed and which matters should be restricted from live streaming.
Okay. Okay. All right. Now that lockdown is going on, and courts are only hearing urgent matters through video conferencing, right? So
right.
let's say that if we had a full-fledged digital justice system, so do you
Hmm.
think that the number of cases that have been dealt with would have been much higher?
Yes, definitely. We already had the infrastructure in place.
Yeah.
Like from 2005, the Supreme Court E-Committee had submitted that information and communication technology should be integrated into the judicial system, and the computerization and the different e-filing process, payments through online and video conferencing facilities were already installed in most of the courts. However, the judiciary was caught off guard because of this COVID-19 pandemic, and we were not ready for it. And a slow and gradual incorporation of technology was going on in our judicial system. There are various judgments, like, for example, Swapnil Tripaঠি's judgment of live streaming, then Delhi High Court judgment, wherein the service through SMS and WhatsApp was permitted. Even the Bombay High Court permitted service through WhatsApp and SMSs. So we were incorporating technology into our judicial system. There is one more judgment of Dr. Praful Desai, wherein Justice Varyava and Justice Agarwal both had held that recording of evidence through video conferencing should be permitted. That was a judgment in 2003, and thereafter the parliament had brought in an amendment and incorporated the same in the CRPC in the year 2009. So we
Mhm.
were adopting technology and including technology in our system, only the pace was a little slow due to varied reasons, maybe because of the funding, maybe because of the mindset of the people in the system.
Okay, all right. Now, when we talk about technology, artificial intelligence is a very hot topic. And one of the very good
Right.
examples where AI has been used is for granting bails in some US courts. So, do you think AI as a technology is capable of bringing reforms in the Indian justice system?
Yes, definitely. AI can be used in our judicial system for assisting the judges, for
Yeah,
e-filing, for answering the questions of the litigants, for framing of charges, for helping a judge to fetch out all the evidences given by different witnesses pertaining to a particular accused in a matter. So
yeah,
they can help the judge in dispensation of justice. But the AI totally giving a judgment on its own without any human assistance, uh, I have my own reservations for the same.
yeah. Okay. Ma'am,
And
you mentioned about number of internet users or how they are increasing about from IMI report, right? So right now,
yes,
the current penetration rate in India is about 40 to 45% roughly, right? So in that case, how do you think digital justice system is going to be effective? Because internet is being only accessed by 35 to 40% of the population.
right now, according to the IAMI data, which we just referred to, according to them, India is the second largest country having internet users. Okay,
Yeah,
around 504 million people are using the internet in our country.
yeah,
Now, our population of our country is around 135 crore,
yeah.
right? If I'm not wrong.
Yes, yes.
And if you calculate the average size of the family,
Yeah,
that is 4.9 per family,
yeah,
almost 4 to 5 people in a particular family. So if we
yes,
divide the total population by the average size of a particular family,
yeah,
the number that we get is 27 crores. So there are 27 crore families in our country. Okay,
yes,
so 27 crore families in our country, and according to the data given by them, 50 crore internet users are there in our country.
yeah,
So definitely there is at least a minimum one internet connection in every family.
yeah,
And as in a family, if you have a cable connection or a Wi-Fi connection, the rest of the family members use that one connection.
yeah.
So calculating the usage per person will be very difficult.
Okay.
because active users are 50 crores. But what about the passive users who are using the Wi-Fi or the cable network? So that has not been looked into. So if you calculate it individually, it will be very difficult. But if you think in these terms, then there is a lot of penetration.
Okay, ma'am. Now that we are talking about the national level digital justice system, so we
Yeah.
have around 35 or 36 states and union territories, and and there are so many district courts, right?
Right,
So, and this is going to be a system with a plethora of information, right, from
right,
the trial court, to high court, and the Supreme Court,
right.
right? So, do you think the government should be held accountable for any breach of information in such system?
No, the government cannot be held accountable for any breach of the system. The person who is responsible for breach of system should be held accountable, because the government will see to it that all the security measures and a proper system is in place.
Yeah.
But the person who tampers with it, he shall be the person who will be responsible for tampering with the data.
Okay, now, ma'am, since the personal data protection bill is being discussed lately
Yes.
in the last year or so, so it talks about establishing a data protection authority, right? And
Right.
if you see how GDPR has been implemented, so basically, if a particular organization has not been able to prove that they implemented reasonable security measures, so they are liable to be penalized. So, is
Okay.
this something that that should happen in India as well? So that, but the problem is DPA would essentially be established by the government itself.
Yes. That's true.
So
That's true.
so there should be something that clears this gray area, right?
Yeah. So we
Uh,
will know only once when we have the act in place.
Yes, that's also true. So now that for an IT system to perform as expected, like the results that you're expecting after completing a process or a procedure, all the stakeholders must be on board, right, from the
Yes.
litigant to the judges,
Right.
right?
Right.
So in this digital justice system, that full-fledged the digital justice system promises a paradigm shifting change. So,
Yes.
being a prosecutor yourself, do you think that all the stakeholders will be on board for this?
They have to be, because that is the way forward. You can't just resist change. If you want progress, you have to be ready for change. And if you see in the last 2 months during the lockdown period, number of webinars that have been conducted by the legal fraternity, you
Yeah,
will know that
yeah,
we all have started adopting the technology and even implementing and practicing and understanding the nitty gritties of it.
yeah,
So there is no question whether we are ready or no for that change, because the lawyers have already accepted it. They have started acting upon it. And
yeah,
now regarding judiciary is also gone online to reach out to people. And
yeah.
now the question remains as to the litigants. The litigants will definitely want it, because it saves their time, money, and energy, and they can access the justice system from the comfort of their home or offices.
Now, just to add to your point, I was reading on my Facebook timeline, I think a day before yesterday, that a couple of years ago, online certifications were looked down. And now that lockdown
Yes,
is going on, online
yes,
certification is there, like everything is doing that, right?
yes, yes,
Everyone is doing one certification on another. Now, since uh, digital justice system, like in a digital justice system, some of the processes will get automated,
right,
right?
right.
So, do you think that having a digital justice system in India is going to impact individuals employed by courts or law offices?
I don't think it should, because this change will take uh, a period of time. It will not happen overnight or within a few months. So I don't think that there will be a loss of employment. On the contrary, I think there will be an increase in the employments, because more engineers, more software technicians, more trained persons will be required. So, and we will not be going 100% digital immediately. There
Yeah,
will be a gradual change. So there will be physical courts which will be functioning for serious matters, and there will be certain matters which the court may decide that these are particular categories of matters which can be tried online. So those
yeah,
will shift over there. So employment generation will take place on both platforms, physical as well as online.
Okay. Since we talked about automation of processes, now India does not have any law that talks about accountability of an autonomous system, right?
Right,
So, and every system is bound to make an error, like today
right.
or some days later. So, do you think that due to an error that's been generated due to some issues in the system, it's
Mm-hmm.
going to lead to an increased number of cases? Because let's say I'm searching for a case, right?
Okay,
And the system does not provide me with the data that it
hmm,
should provide,
okay,
and it gives me 10 grounds to file my case, but the correct
okay,
result would have been कि मुझे इसमें कोई remedy नहीं मिलेगी,
okay.
right? So now
Right.
when we are talking about a country of 135 crore people, अगर ऐसा
Mm-hmm.
कुछ error commit होता है, तो
Mm-hmm.
essentially everybody searching for that particular issue will come to know कि नहीं उसके पास remedy है. So is it
Mm-hmm.
going to lead to increased number of cases?
Um, I cannot predict because it is a very subjective aspect. A
Okay.
person may want to litigate all the time, and every small matter he would want to litigate, and he said, no, my right is infringed, whether it is a minor thing or a major thing, he wants to litigate. And there may be persons who may try to find out a solution, a practical way out. So
Mhm.
it is not that system will tell you that yes, if you this right is infringed and these are the remedies, then the litigants will immediately go and file a case. They have their own thinking process. They analyze the pros and cons, and it's a subjective issue. It depends upon person to person. If a person is bent upon litigation and has a litigant mind all the time, because there are court birds
Yeah,
we see. I have come across a person who has filed almost 50 cases against different persons.
yeah.
So he is a court bird and he is aware of the procedures, and he files his own case and argues it before the court. So it depends upon person to person.
Okay, so continuing with the something like the issue that we're trying to discuss from the last question, information systems are like tools that help us in uh, processes or procedures. They can be legal or non-legal, but they try to minimize human intervention, right?
Right,
So
right.
let's say that the users of Indian digital system, advocates, litigants, lawyers, and judges, will they try to escape liability by saying that this error was committed by the system?
No, that will not be the case, because when the system comes up with a solution or with some input, the judge or even the parties, they don't blindly accept it. They have to apply their mind to it. It's not that the system has given us an answer and we just pick it up and we just if we are a defense lawyer or a prosecution, we just pick up that point and we go and argue.
Yeah,
We apply our mind to it. We see to it that how far this can be aptly applicable in our case. Does it fit? And similar is the case for the judge. If a system gives him some 10 points for rejection of bail, or whatever the matter before him is, he will see to it whether whatever the system is telling him, whether it is true and whether it is 100% applicable to the case at hand, and only then he will accept it. That
okay.
caution is always taken care of by all the stakeholders, that is the judiciary, the prosecution, the defense.
Okay, so the last question from our side. Now, you are a practicing lawyer. You've been practicing from last 15 years, and you've seen for a very good amount of time how technology is being incorporated into
Yeah,
the existing legal system. So, what are your concerns with regards to implementation of such a system in India?
right.
Should I repeat the question?
First of all, electricity will be a big concern.
Okay.
No, I got the question.
Okay. Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yes. Yes, ma'am. I can hear you. Please go ahead.
Electricity will be a big concern, because if you want to go digital, there has to be a proper supply of electricity. Now, if you go
Yeah.
to the government website, saubhagya.government.in, it says that 99.99% of the household persons are supplied with electricity. But what
Okay.
about the continuous flow of electricity? What about the
Yeah.
continuity? There are load sheddings, there are other technical defects due to which the electricity is not available.
Yeah.
So this has to be looked into. Then the internet connectivity, the broadband, which should be increased so that there is no interruption when you go online.
Okay.
Then these are basic problems which we will have to encounter. Then computer literacy is another issue. We will have to
Yeah.
tackle that. We have data regarding literacy in India, but what about computer literacy?
Okay.
So for that, if that is the case, because definitely computer literacy is going to be low than the actual literacy rate. So
Yeah.
for that, the government will have to set up facility centers which will help
Yeah.
the people who are not techno savvy to attend cases online, to file cases online, to file their replies online. So such facility centers will have to be set up. Now, there is no need for establishing a totally separate wing for these facility centers. You can establish it within the existing court structure itself so that it saves your money and infrastructure.
Okay.
Because if you have an independent setup for this, then again, a huge number of infrastructure and funds will be required, which we don't know how far the government will be willing to spend. So, in the existing system itself, you can have a system which is set up for catering to the needs of online litigants.
Okay. Uh,
So these are the concerns. Another major concern is that of maintaining digital records,
okay.
because you have taken evidence on uh, video conferencing, right? Now,
Yeah.
how do you preserve that? Because the other party may want to go in appeal. The one
Mhm.
who loses will definitely want to go in appeal. So the trial court is supposed to preserve that data for the appellate court to view it. Even though if it is transcripted, still, if you are going online, the even the appellate court would like to see the demeanor of the witnesses while cross examination. So maintaining that digital record is also a Herculean task, and special expertise will be required for that, and even security of that judicial data.
Mhm.
It should be, these measures should be in place. So
Okay.
these are the
So
great concerns which we have to address, and
yeah.
nothing can be done overnight. This will take time. The digital justice system in India is still at a nascent stage. We have a
Mhm.
long way to go. Only thing is, because of the COVID-19 pandemic, we were forced to adopt this online method for hearing, and therefore there was a lot of panic and lot of apprehension and skepticism amongst the public, amongst the legal fraternity. But once things start getting normal, slowly we will have to, because you just cannot uh, turn an existing system into a digital justice system immediately. It takes time. On the contrary,
Okay.
if you try to do something like this, there might be, it may backfire. You may
Yes.
invest huge amounts into it, but then the results would backfire. So it is always better to gradually and slowly accept the change and technology in the system, analyze its results, find out the loopholes, improve upon them, and then try to better the system and move towards a progressive digitalized justice system.
Ma'am, before we wrap this session, there is one query from one of our viewers.
Huh.
So I will read it out. Ma'am, don't you think it
Okay.
is easier for defendants to flee and go into hiding if there is a digital justice system in video conference hearings? Even if it is a
Uh,
petty case, physical hearings also ensure that defendant does not flee and go into hiding.
no, there is no question of fleeing, because the necessary conditions will be put upon him by the court while granting bail, as is in the case in the physical courts. The courts, while granting bail, put certain conditions upon them that you are supposed to attend each and every date of hearing, and if you
Yeah.
don't attend, then necessary action will be taken against you. You are
Yes.
sometimes, if the matter is serious, then the court also imposes that you cannot leave India without the permission of the court.
Yeah.
Thereafter, court also puts condition that you are not supposed to enter into a particular jurisdiction in a particular state,
Yeah.
maybe where the victim is residing or where the offense has taken place.
Yeah.
So the court ensures that the accused does not flee and put certain restrictions and conditions upon him. And
Yeah.
if he violates those, then his bail is liable to be cancelled. Then
Yes.
he can be declared as absconder also.
Yeah. All right, ma'am. So that's all from our side. Thank you so much for your time and sharing your views. Thank you so much for all the viewers who have joined us. We hope that we have been able to cover basic aspects of digital justice system. Thank you. Please do take care.